So this is gonna be a weird LA x Edmonton type of video because the LA Kings, I don't know if y'all noticed, but they put in work today. This has actually been one of the more, dare I say, tame, lame free agencies that we have seen in a while because Brock Besser didn't end up leaving. Mitch Marner got traded before free agency began. Brad Marchand stayed. Sam Bennett stayed. Aaron Ekblad stayed. A lot of the top guys ended up getting moved earlier or they just stayed. And Nick Ehlers didn't even sign either. So when it comes to some of the teams that made big splashes, like the LA Kings, for example, going the exact opposite route of the Edmonton Oilers, who, by comparison, didn't really do much. They got their goalie, but that's about it. This is absolutely hilarious, because if you take a look at the LA Kings, you've got Marc Bergevin cooking up a former Canadian Storm, signing Yoel Armia, 2 years, $2.5 million AAV. I actually like that contract a decent amount. I like Armia as a player. He's 32 years old. Yes, he is a little bit older, but this is a guy who knows how to use his stick. He's a strong penalty killer. He can produce points. Corey Perry gets a 1 year, $2 million deal in LA. So already you know that means that the LA Kings are going to head over to the Stanley Cup Finals later in 2026. Anton Forsberg gets a $2.25 million AAV deal, so there you go, some backup goaltending support. I'm lukewarm on my confidence on Anton Forsberg, but then you go into the big boys. What the hell happened here? Cody Cece, $4.5 million a year for 4 years? This guy's 31 years old and he's getting a 4.5. Who in the hell is his agent? Peter McTavish, you are the biggest bandit in the National Hockey League. How do you keep on doing this? How does Cody Cece always find a way to get these contracts? What in the world? This is one of the strangest players in NHL history, just in terms of how he is on the ice and how much money he always seems to get. Forget Joel Edmondson from last year. Cody Cece is bringing the booms to the LA Kings and their salary cap. And then you have Brian Dumoulin, who had a $4 million deal, per season for 3 years. He'll be 36 by the time this contract expires in 2028. What in the world are the LA Kings doing, man? They're just throwing money at everybody. And not to say that Armia or Perry aren't good, capable players that aren't going to contribute, but just the level of dollars. How in the hell are you going to be paying a D pairing of Dumoulin and Cece $8 million a year for, at the minimum, the next 3 years? They could not have just kept Jordan Spence? Really? They had to go out there and get Cece, who's going to miss the net by a mile again upon given a pretty good scoring opportunity. This is absolutely hilarious for Edmonton Oilers fans who have been paying attention to their guys asking, hey, Ryan McLeod is worth so much money he had signed in Buffalo. Cody Cece is worth $4.5 million a year now. How is this even possible? Thank goodness Kenny Holland and the LA Kings ended up acquiring these kinds of names, and thank goodness Stan Bowman didn't do his part in keeping these guys and giving them that money to stay in Edmonton. This is Ken Holland Hockey 2.0, baby, bringing itself back up. But now, we also have to talk about the contrary, because the Edmonton Oilers, on the other hand, they didn't do much. The Kings did a lot. Edmonton didn't do anything. They had signed Riley Stillman and Matt Tomkins. That's it. All their other contracts came yesterday with Kasperi Kapanen, Noah Philp, Evan Bouchard, and then the Trent Frederic 8-year deal from a few days ago that everybody was going out there and talking smack about. But realistically, after Bouchard and McDavid, there isn't really much business this team needs to do. You have Riley Stillman, who's brought in on a 2-year, $775,000 contract, and then you have Matt Tomkins, the goalie of the future for Edmonton. Let's start out with Stillman first, though, because I just gotta say here, I'm saying this as a Vancouver Canucks fanboy who absolutely does not like the Oilers, but who is a Vancouver Canucks fanboy. Riley Stillman may be the very worst defenseman I had ever seen suit up in a Vancouver Canucks uniform the past decade. He was bad. Absolutely gobsmackingly out of this world, the other multiversal level terrible for the Vancouver Canucks, who only was able to get a job with the Canucks because of the injuries that they had. This guy sucked. He was so bad in Vancouver, and I'm like, super confident that if Vancouver had any sort of a competent D-core, they would not have chosen Riley Stillman to have played 32 games for them in that season. This guy was a turnover machine, defensively irresponsible, just totally in another world's level of bad. I hate this guy. Okay, look, I'm being very harsh, but he is legitimately the worst D-man out of all of them that have suited up in a Vancouver Canucks uniform the past 10 years or so. You talk about the Lucas Spizas, you talk about the Goodbransons, you talk about the Noah Juulsens, the Matt Bartkowskis, all the other guys who were tweeners. Riley Stillman was worse than all of them. And so when he got traded to Buffalo, we made a very happy celebratory video. Oh my gosh, the Canucks actually traded Stillman. That's crazy. Then he went over to the AHL, then had a season in Chicago and Carolina. He played 5 games with the Hurricanes there. Now he's in Edmonton. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess. Good on Riley Stillman for getting the contract. And then you also have Matt Tomkins, the goalie of the future for the Edmonton Oilers, although we can probably doubt that that is going to be the case here. Yes, he is a goalie. Yes, he is in Edmonton. But no, he is probably not good enough to replace Stu Skinner or Kyle Pickard. He's 31 years old, hometown guy, sticking around, going back to Edmonton, so that's cool. 6'4", 192, a 7th-round pick in the 2012 draft, by the Chicago Blackhawks. He played in the Syracuse Crunch system recently, .907 save percentage in 26 games played. That's pretty good, if I do say so myself. And he did have some cups of coffee with the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2023-2024, his very first exposure to NHL games. .892 save percentage in 6 games is not great, although he did go 500 in terms of winning and points. He was over 500, actually. What is that? 7 points in 6 games played? Yeah, he's actually pretty good, not gonna lie. But Matt Tomkins will likely be heading over to Bakersfield, which is going to shake up the Oilers' goaltending system as a whole in a pretty interesting way. There are a bunch of dudes who are already under contract here, and then of course you've got Stu and Pickard who are going to be in that organization too. This is totally going to open the door for some more movement around on that goaltending depth chart, just because, the guarantee that some of these guys are going to be meaningful longer-term options, that is not there. They're both expiring in 25-26. Stu Skinner and Pickard, their contracts are expiring, so there might need to be some decisions made. But one thing's for sure here, the Edmonton Oilers are not rushing into anything. They're seeing their guys going for expensive dollar amounts, and they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pay Cody Cece $4.5 million to stay. We're just going to take our time with this. We're going to acquire pieces late, like they had done last year with Vasily Podkolzin, for example. They don't need to do these big, flashy, fancy moves, and they're kind of in a spot where they can just chillax a little bit. That's why they traded away Evander Kane. They traded away Victor Arvidsson. They're just freeing up the money. They're just giving themselves more flexibility. They're signing Bouchard. They're holding out for McDavid too. This seems to be the case for Edmonton. Meanwhile, LA, good luck, guys. $4 million for Dumoulin, $4.5 for Cece. That's a lot of money. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these contracts signed by the Kings and the Oilers. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.